Right, guys. So I thought I'd do a 10-point list today. So I'm going to try and shut up a little bit and just go over them as quick as possible. So the first one is listen more than speak, which is what's the agenda? Doesn't matter what it is. If somebody's pitching a sale to you, a business idea, a political ideology, whatever it is, they will explain more the less you speak. It's the same as when you catch people lying. You don't have to call them a liar. You just sit there and say nothing because the story gets bigger and bigger without you even trying. But the whole relevance in this is, I think it's becoming more apparent on the political side how stupid a lot of this stuff is. And the more you listen, the more you can interpret it and the better your understanding of it. One of the problems I have is I think there's too many people that actually believe in this stuff because they didn't get any critical thinking or the right information or people teaching them how to get the right information. There's been too much indoctrination. And now, if you watch the Daniel Boland show, which is a guy who lives in northern Spain, I believe, you'll see one there that's gone on today where they've got GQ magazine interviewing Sweeney, whatever her name is, that did the American Eagle, American Apparel jeans, where it says Sweeney's got good jeans. That sort of advert. Now, the guys that own American Apparel or whatever it is obviously knew that would poke the bear for the black community or the whoever that keeps complaining about everything. The owners of American Eagle are, I think, two Jewish brothers. So they're trying to make out Sweeney as some racist, whatever, nonsense, where they can't even see that's an easy play because the problem is on this side, these people are just bickering and arguing. But then the GQ magazine interviewer seems very scrunched up feminist viewpoint because even their body language was almost like she didn't want to ask those questions. Like she felt uncomfortable asking the questions. She may have been comfortable doing it, it's just that she didn't want to actually say it to people's faces. I don't know. But you'll see that the GQ lineup of questioning was to target Sweeney, while at the same time, Sweeney's dismissive approach is more targeted to the fact of the way I am if I've done long hours, long days, and I don't really care. But I'm not going to sit and argue with you. I know what your agenda is. And she's got a completely dismissive approach to it. But then if you watch the Daniel Boland show, you'll see these overlays of black women whinging about Sweeney's approach on it. Why is it relevant? Watch it and you'll see you've got three different things going on in the same video. Because the reality is, it was a jeans ad. I'm not going to go on about the agenda pieces because I need people to start looking at this stuff themselves. There's no point me pointing it out because one of the frustrations I get is we got left and right arguing and bickering at each other, doing this, pointing. Where's the solutions? I'm not interested in the bickering. Just stop it. I mean, I get Daniel Boland stuff because he has a sense of humour in it. But the bigger picture is neither side are actually offering solutions. They spend more time regurgitating and arguing stuff. So the point being is, what's the agenda? Next one is discipline. Discipline's an important one. It's like this morning. First thing I do when I get up in the morning is have a coffee. And I do that every day. My wife will tell you, I hate anything happening before my coffee. The first 30 minutes of the day is just like what people would have with a bit of whatever. It's like you just set yourself up. That's the moment where you're just doing nothing and just getting your mind empty, not really thinking about much, enjoying a coffee, maybe a bit of music, maybe read something. But the point being is, you're just chilling out. But in the same approach, shave, shower, get dressed properly. And like today, sorting the wardrobe out, taking some of my summery clothes away, freezer pack them. Well, you know, like the air packs, you just fill it up and then you just suck the air out, put them under the bed, reduce the amount of clothes in the wardrobe, prepare for my shirts for the next week. Because discipline's not only about debt management, finance management, turn up at school, it's throughout everything in your life, it should be. Because you have to adapt as life moves on. So for example, I had pizza last night and I sat there, I thought, I've spent too much money on pizza this month. Because I get the takeaways and they're about £17 each, for two. And I'm like, why am I wasting this money? I don't buy pizza when I'm shopping because I'm trying to keep away from the bread stuff. So what happens is, you know, where you've been working all that, or working late. It's about 9 o'clock at night or everything. I'm hungry, but I can't bother to cook. So you order pizza. So you're sitting there going, bit of discipline. You're going to eat pizza. Why don't you just buy a couple of pizzas and stick them in the freezer? Save yourself about 15 quid. But then you've got to go through little changes sometimes to keep things improving. Whether that's a case of you're not happy with your fitness, so what are you going to do about it? You're going to go to the gym. You're going to have, like I've got here, I've got like a yoga mat, I've got weights, and every day I do weights. So even if I'm not out walking, I'm doing weights every single day. And I have on the top of my list there, you can't see it, it's got little 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 20 lifts, 40 lifts. So every time I do 20, I tick it off. I do that every single day. But also you've got to build in resets as well. Because I sprained my ankle a few weeks ago, which has knocked my fitness back down. Because I was off the treadmill for a bit. So now I'm looking at things and going, okay, back to the park every day now. So you're going to the park, do 3 sets of 15 to 30 minute walks at three times a day, get an hour and a half in, and you just keep it and build up on it. Bit of discipline, bit of change. It doesn't need to always be a big amount either. Much better do small amounts, because it's the reason I sprained my ankles. I took the incline from 3 to 6, and I've got bad torn ligaments in my left ankle from an old injury. It can't heal, doesn't bend very well. It had a metal bolt went through it, and it upset my ankle. Which is the other side of this. Don't push yourself too hard. There's no point in your break and then you have to go and start again. But I do that all the time, so I'm not perfect. But you build resets in. Goes wrong, go back, move forward, and just keep it going. And it works for everything, guys. If you're drinking too much, eating too much, spend too much time on the Xbox, watch too much TV, watch too much TikTok, I don't know why anybody would, set some boundaries. My phone, for example, after I think it's 6 p.m, it goes on silent automatically. When I'm here, it goes on silent. In Spain, I leave it in the office. it just cuts off communications that are unnecessary most of the time anyway. Set some boundaries. Next one is finance is freedom, but it's not the only one. If you're only focused on finance, you'll probably get to a point where you've worked all your life to achieve something, financial independence, while missing the journey of life. It sounded weird when I said it there. But for me, I went to the Philippines in my early 30s and I spent nearly 8 years there. I got to work and travel in the Middle East, Qatar, Abu Dhabi. Where else did I go? Oman. And I experienced a lot when I was younger. And here's the kicker. I come back to the UK, I started from scratch, and in a better position than many of the people that should have been ahead of me. And now a lot of that is because financial freedom is not about luxury cars, bigger TVs, bigger house, better holidays. It's about what is the freedom and how to get there. So for me in Spain, I need a point where my pension funds will see me through month to month sustainable, because I'll still pot around and work. That's just reality. But the reality is, I need where no bills aren't covered without any stretch or stress. And then the other side of it being that my kids are getting older. As my kids get older, they become independent. They become little adults and start doing their own stuff. They'll always have their space at home, but the point being is the liabilities of funding tutors and other stuff that I do, they don't need it. I mean, this is the other thing I keep seeing as well about people saying, oh, they'll never afford their first home and all this sort of stuff. I don't think the market's sustainable, guys. I wouldn't worry about that stuff. The financial markets are a mess at the minute. The reliance is more money keeps coming in, but people are having less money. It's the snake eating itself. Now, what the output is, no idea, because they keep messing with stuff. But ultimately, the kids can live in the same house that they've been growing up in, with their teen years, for the rest of their lives if they want. I'm not kicking my kids out. The kids can live there as long as they like. And I do find Spain is a lot more realistic on its rents, etc., because the country's massive. Although we're getting floods of people, it's not like the UK benefit system. And I think that's the ultimate thing. I just want to sort of try and put a bit of balance on here. That once the UK has destroyed its socialist system, which it keeps pushing the way it is, it will do. It'll break it. The benefit system's in for a major overhaul because it's unsustainable. They would have broke it, which means the housing market and everything else will decline because there is no more money. There's no point feeding in people that are then living off others, because you might as well just leave it as it is, and the people that are already funding things have got more cash in their pockets because they're not funding all these other people. Anyway, moving on. The key to everything is deciding what you want to achieve. So as you hear from me, my Philippines years did a lot of stuff there. Love the Philippines. We're in the middle of a bit of a mess out there as well at the minute. I was talking to my wife yesterday. In our town, they're doing evacuations at the minute because of the flooding and stuff, because of the typhoon damage. But I like the Philippines because it's a lot more real. In the West, it's just media whinging all the time. Where in the Philippines, they've got real problems. But moving across. I had the time in the Philippines. Loved the experiences. Love it out there. Got my setup in Spain. The next thing is the motorbike. The next thing is the farm. That's it. Because once I've hit that position, that's me set up. See, the farm is about developing the village idea. Because I'll keep busy until I drop dead. That's just me. But other people, Philippines again, will go to the Philippines going, oh, I'm going to retire here for whatever reason. And they become drunks. You've always got to have something to do. Always got to have something to do. But anyway, moving on from that one, because I'm dragging these out. Yeah, fourth, property market can be good and bad. As I say, the market can go up and down, but also you've got to do a comparison against what the rents cost you to what a mortgage would cost you and how much you pay over a long period of time. Because one of the things people forget is all the taxes you pay when you sell the damn thing and all the interest on there. So when you calculate that in with all the maintenance costs and everything else, your rental may not be that bad, especially in Spain. So owning may not be the best option. Having that money in an investment fund while you pay rent off your investment fund and still have your money in the bank for the rest of your life, and then when you die, the money's still in the bank or you empty it out beforehand, may be a better option. But at the same time, you can get a good deal on the property. It gives you a bit of security. It's all on the mindset and doing the math behind it. Fifth one is politics is temporary. The environment we're in at the moment has got people fighting against each other, and often because they're all half-baked. See, I get seen as a racist because I have viewpoints that the UK doesn't need any more people. But that's not racism. It's called accounting. I look at it from the financial aspects. I look at the fact that we have doctors in the UK that can't find work while influxing with cheap labour from overseas for jobs that should be going to people that are already here that we're having to fund indirectly, through the benefit system or whatever. So it comes in my pocket to pay for this guy and this guy. So why we keep doing it, you'll have to ask the NHS. This gets back to statistics that they falsify or they exclude certain factors. But the point being is politics is always temporary. Because when you're this bad with the current government, it's unsustainable. Reality is we're more likely to end up with another Conservative or Reform at the next election. One of the two. It definitely won't be Labour. And people talk about the Green Party. The Green Party is nothing. Nobody wants a Green Party. They're terrible. See what they did to Germany. But either way, politics is on the cycle. It'll fizzle out. The government they've got currently is trying to do stuff it can't fund. Trying to do stuff that nobody agrees with. Caught in scandals from everything from the grooming gangs to Angela Rayner's financial problems with the mortgages to dodgy old, what's her name, Bobbinhead, Rachel Reeves with yet another dodgy scandal. I want to look into her taxes. If you want, I mean, let's face it. If her licensing was wrong, I bet her taxes are wrong as well. Just at a guess. How is that money paid? But the point being is, they seem to be completely incompetent. Lammy's an absolute moron. If you look at the stuff relating to the prisoner stuff that they escaped, and then you find out there's at least another 50, and he wouldn't even answer that question because he knew there was more than 50. That's not something that's sustainable for a long time. They're going to be out sooner rather than later, I think. I'm not even sure beyond than keep reconfiguring the elections, the local elections, to keep themselves in power. I think they've sat there and worked that agenda out before they got in, to work through a legal framework rather than a political framework. In other words, using every obstructive ability they've got to try and keep on for as long as possible to force the change that they want. The good thing is, anything they do, I can see being on the manifesto of the next government of, we will undo that, we will destroy that. So don't worry about politics. Number 6, life moves on. This is important if you've had divorce, relationship breakups, bankruptcy, gone through some addiction, gone through the loss of somebody. You've got to move forward. Everything that was in the past is in the past. Don't hold on to regrets. If you need to forgive, you can forgive. You don't have to forget. I mean, I've done this with my sister. I forgive her, but I won't forget. I'll never speak to her again in my lifetime. But for what she's done, I've parked it. She's gone. Doesn't exist to me anymore. Because you've got to close these boxes off in your life. Same with bankruptcy. If you had a business and shame that you lost everything, I will say to you, you tried. You did something. You tried to achieve something most people wouldn't even do. Your failures may not have been yours. You're in a very high tax environment. You may have had problems with supplies. You may have had other things that were outside your control. That's not failure. That's just bad luck. There's very little you could have done to avoid it. So don't worry about it. Move on. After 6 months, people won't even remember. So do not hold on to something to hold yourself back. And do not think that that was a failure. See the experience and what worked and what didn't. Was it a case you got a place that the rent was too high? Was it a case that you dealt with local bureaucracy? Was it a case of your supplier prices jumped by 80%? Was it a case that minimum wage went all stupid and idiotic? The answer to that is probably all of the above. Those are outside your normal controls. So whatever it is, life moves on, and you need to move on with it. You need to learn from it, forgive and forget, or just realise, forget it. 7 is do it now. Everybody puts stuff off all the time. There's always a reason not to do it. There's always a reason, so I'll wait till the kids finish school. Or, yeah, we'll do that in a couple of years once I've done this. Oh yeah, we could do that, but I need to buy a new car first. There's always a reason not to do it. Do it now. Start it today. Just as an example, I'm very busy with work. I'm doing a startup course at the same time in the background. A government one. That's on top of everything else I'm doing. Because the weird thing is, I'm doing it for understanding if there's something I'm missing. Because marketing's not my skill set. Sales, I can do it, but I hate it. So I'm doing it to see, is there something in there that I'm not already covering? Because we're not an expert in everything, and I don't assume. It's always best to assume somebody knows something I don't. But the key to it is do something now. And just to be honest, this is to do with setting up a business for my wife and my son, because I'm looking at what we could do outside of our day-to-day. Because my wife's keen to generate an income, and I'm thinking, well, I'll have a think and set something up. Which then goes on to 8, which is similar. Work on tomorrow today. There's always something that's going to allow you to put something off. My view on it is get these things and write them on there. So every time you get up, you look and you go, oh, I've got those to do. And then you probably notice this. If you watch the video, you'll see stuff goes on and comes off all the time. Because as soon as I've done it, it comes off the board. And as you can see, the list is nearly empty. What have we got on the top there? College course part 2. Because we've done part 1 last week. So the point being is, put it on there and do it today. I had to expand it out, my part 1. So I did that last night. As soon as it come in, the results come in, adjusted it because I wanted more information on the different types of sole trader, partnerships, public limited company, private limited company, and breaking out what the differences are. So, because I'd put like literally 2 paragraphs and they wanted a bit more. But the point being is, just keep doing it. Get up and get off your backside and go and do it today. 9, stop telling yourself, no, you're not worthy. Do it next year. Your worst critic is you. See me, I'm struggling with this thing here because I can play a little bit. Maybe I'll play a little bit. But I'm still at the very basics. So there's nothing else matters if you could or couldn't hear. But as I was saying to my son yesterday, the thing is, I don't need to look at the guitar. I can play that, and I'm starting to get the hang of it because I can't read music. I can just hear it. But I need to get a bit more practice on it. Also, I don't think my strumming's not very good, but I can do it like playing the piano. So even that's my frustration at the minute. That's just something completely outside my comfort zone, completely outside my abilities, current abilities. But I keep doing it and keep trying and keep trying. And I'll get there. As my wife said, if I sit there and just focus on it, I'll get there. If I say I'm going to do it, I'll just do it. Because I've got that bloody mindedness that I refuse to fail. And it's that level of focus you need. Because it doesn't matter what the hell you're doing, you just got to focus. You just got to focus. You just got to focus. It's like when I did my degree. I ran out of time. I'd spent a lot of time printing stuff off and prepping for my final paper interview, because I think it's a 3-hour interview. And I'd spent so much time preparing that I didn't have enough time to read it. Because I printed off 2 years worth of work, which is hundreds and hundreds of pages. And I got that mental block piece. But I'm quite lucky in the sense I've got a fairly photographic memory. So without reviewing it, it was too late because I spent hours printing it off and then started reading it and starting to get there. And then I thought, I'm gonna nap because I've got the interview tomorrow at 10:30. I'll get up early in the morning and I'll do it. And I got up late. I set it all out, hadn't read any of it, and did the interview and got distinction. Not saying that works for all of you guys, by the way, but the point is, even there, my time frame was so limited because I had so many other things going on, moving parts of work and stuff. It restricted my time to actually deal with something that was really important to me. But I then locked in the focus of, you need to do this, you need to do it, think about this, and I locked onto that to make sure I passed. So my point being on that, you probably notice I started off by saying, stop telling yourself you're not worthy, do it next year, and all that stuff, to, you've got to do this, get on with it, shut up, there is no excuse. Completely opposite. But most people, I tell themselves why not to do it, where my mind is often, well, it never says don't do anything, that's the problem. Yeah, I've never done a parachute jump before, but yeah, I'll go. And unfortunately, that's exactly the way I am. But the point being is, just do it. Take yourself a little bit further outside your comfort zone sometimes. Don't put it off. Just go, okay then. Like, what's his name? Carl Pilkington. When he does all that stuff with the Doe shows with Ricky Gervais. You could tell he wasn't comfortable doing it, but he didn't know how to say no. But sometimes you just gotta go, alright, just do it. And my final one is put what matters first. I know myself, I sacrificed a lot of years to career, and I probably was a bit bitter a long time ago about why my parents didn't teach me what I know now, which is why I do these videos, because I reflect and realise I was wrong. How the hell would my parents know about business? My father was an electronics engineer in the military, and my mother originally was a bookbinder and did some care work and stuff like that. My father gave up his degree. He was studying at the university in Glasgow, but he was working at the Royal Hospital as he did all the bio testing, or laboratory tests. And because he didn't have his papers at the time, if you had your papers, you got paid more. So he was still going through the university, but he didn't have enough money to get the train home. So what he did is, when you sign up for the army, I think they give you a day's pay or a week's pay for signing up. And then he did 22 years in the armed forces after that. My point being is, my father was very intelligent. Not knocking my mother, different forte, different skill sets. But my father, we was reading about 16 books a week, and he'd spent a horrendous amount of time reading, like his entire life, right up till he died. He was reading all the time. And I've got to admit, just here, bearing in mind this is just my rental in Northampton, I've got at least 40 books here. Not joking. Because I'm always buying books. There's none at hand, because they're over there on a shelf on the radiator, and over there on the shelves here. But the point is, they wouldn't know business. Nobody ever taught them business. They didn't come from that background. My grandparents were merchant navy and welders on the docks. So they're working class people. Listen to me talking as if I'm something special. I don't mean it in a bad way. I mean it, the fact is, the whole concept is not stuff they're taught, and never were. The stuff we're talking about development, is not something that would even logically be something that they may even accept in a conversation, because that's not how they see the world. So it ended up with my first, say, 10 years of drifting, just doing work and whatever, no direction, because they never had any direction. and never gave me any direction. But the good thing I have is I seen that drift. I seen where the problems were. I seen what I did wrong, or and yeah, they didn't support us. They didn't do much in the business world environment. They didn't give us any direction for career. They didn't, but they wouldn't know any better. It's only when I look back now, I can see that I cannot make the same mistake with my kids because I'm informed, I'm educated, and I spent a horrendous amount of time developing my direction. In the same way, I do not regret anything my parents did because it was my first 10 years were wasted through just being a lad. Yes, I did lots of lad stuff, but looking back, if there was more control on me as a kid, I would have got here a decade earlier. At the same time, my parents didn't have that knowledge, education, direction. This is why when people talk about private schools v state schools, because in the UK, the state schools v the private schools, the education's different. But on top of that, the networking is different, because if you're surrounded by kids where all their parents are large business owners and from the corporate world their parents are, that knowledge passes down much easier because your whole network and circle is around that. But if you're working in an environment where everybody's from the bean factory up the road and whatever, the knowledge base is within there. This network could be global. This network down here gets as far as getting you as a local councillor. Both have their positives and negatives, and I'm not running anybody down because, like I said, it's all about the environment you come from. And part of that is recognising it. And for me, putting what matters first, where we're back on topic, is because I make sure my kids have got the support, direction, discipline, and all the other bits and pieces we talk about, so that they're set up in a better place. Because I think a lot of the problems that people have these days, where the politics is all over the place, is because it seems there's a lot of spoiled kids out there that have been sold ideologies, which are eventually going to backfire. See, the problem you've got with minorities over majorities, just to finish this off, minorities may want all the sweets in the shop, but the majority are the sweet makers and the people paying for the sweets. Eventually, if these guys move over this side, you got this, and there's nobody over this side making bugger all. And that's, I think, what we'll see in New York. It'll be interesting to see how New York plays out now, because it's an interesting one. Because, see, London can't fail that way because London is the money of the UK, which is why you've got a smug mayor in there that is probably the worst mayor in history. Yet, we'll sit there because his electorate will keep him there because they've moved into the city. You'd have to look at the demographics, but it's pretty obvious what the bloody demographics are these days. But reality is, he will keep being elected until, I don't know how many times he'll be elected as London mayor. And they're not, the financial guys couldn't care less, because a lot of them may have domiciles or whatever, but I think a lot of them aren't really concerned as long as they've got the money flowing through the exchange and the business part of the city. Also London London and London, they're two different things. If you have a look at the London in the middle, it's not the same London. The people that have this bit is all the money. Yeah, but that's another one for another story. But yeah, I thought I'd want to share those today because I've seen the media's getting a lot more negative lately, and it's very hard to get away from it. I've got to admit, because I'm bored of watching TV. I've done a lot of stuff for work, and I actually realise I need to have more time away from work. I need to start doing more. I'm reading a lot, but at the same time, I need to get this thing working. Well, I'll get this going, I'll be happy. It's just that at the moment, I haven't got that rhythm. You know, we go in, starting, and you go, I've had enough. I can't get the next bit. So I've just got to keep that repetition till I get it. But I'll get there. Anyway, have a great weekend, guys. Thanks for watching.